Hey guys, welcome to Trinity Force Podcast. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, and I don't know about these guys, but it seems really weird not to wait 40 seconds before the intro. But that's because we are doing this offline on a Monday night for patch 6.8. As always, we bring those patch notes to you the day that they hit. We get to record a little bit early. Thank you, Riot, for sending those patch notes to us. We really appreciate it. I've already said my name, so you know who I am. At least I think. If you don't, it's Adam Ponophobia Cogswell. I am joined this week by four great guys. First and foremost, Cereal Box is with us.
I just got a very important fortune cookie that's important for this weekend because it says, soon a visitor shall delight you. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's going to be sexy.
We will talk about this weekend very shortly. Punch is here.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Punch. Tallahassee is with us.
Hey.
And Chira Jaden is here.
Hey, what's up? I'm happy to see you, beautiful fuckheads.
Yeah.
In
and you
what,
get to see
3
us
days?
this weekend.
3 days?
That's right.
Yep.
That's amazing.
So if you are listening to this podcast on your flight to Boston, Massachusetts for PAX East 2016, you guys will find us roaming around with a ton of swag. Now, we haven't come up with an idea of where to meet yet, but please go follow our subreddit, our Twitter, and our Facebook, as we will post the links there. So remember, I'm going to talk about what happened really quickly, then we're going to go jump into patch notes. So if you guys weren't aware, we were supposed to have a booth at PAX East, but due to some unfortunate filing of paperwork and getting the runaround, PAX accidentally sold our booth off, and we tried to get it back, and jumping through corporate hoops sometimes can be a chore, and unfortunately there is no booth for us this year. Not to say we didn't want to have a booth. We're very, very disappointed in it because we have lots and lots of swag to give away, but we're trying to make the best of a bad thing.
If you haven't seen the awesome ward that was made, please go to the Trinity Force Network Twitter.
So
it is so good looking. My friend Tom really outdid himself.
Mm-hmm.
If you cannot find a prettier looking ward ever, like life-size ward, it's amazing. I really suggest you go check it out.
It'll be awesome. We'll eventually probably be selling those in a store that we are working on in the background. We're going to put up Trinity Force Network T-shirts and other designs here in the next, hopefully, month to month and a half, so you guys can buy some of those cool little things like that. Not all of them, like the ward might be on demand, it might be a little back order, but we're going to talk with Tom about that because he said he can make more of them at a smaller scale, and we can sell them and get you guys these awesome wards for like $20 or something. So don't quote me on that price, just throwing it out there, but we're going to try to make them cheap so you guys can take care of it. They're all 3D printed. They're really cool. But with that said, because of all the paper filing, we didn't get media badges either. I'm just going to put it this way. There's a lot more to it than that, and it's just an unfortunate string of events. But we have taken the best. We've made the best of the worst scenario that we could possibly have. We have a house. We have passes to get in, and we're going to be running around that floor getting as many interviews as we possibly can because we promised you guys we are bringing you content from PAX East. And so we are going to be there. We're going to be doing that. And again, just check Twitter and all that. We will find a spot. We are podcasting live with Guido one of those nights, Guido and the Just Okay guys. That Saturday night, we'll be meeting up and podcasting together, doing a big old 8 to 10 man shindig. So that should be a lot of fun. You'll be able to find that.
That's going to be a shit show. I can't wait.
Other than that, I don't know. I because of the events, I'm going to keep saying I don't know what we're doing exactly, but we're going to figure it out. We're going to find some way to meet up. You'll find us there. You'll see our T-shirts. We have a ton of stuff to give away. And we're really looking forward to meeting all you guys and all the fans that are going to be out there at PAX East.
We'll be the ones who get thrown out of the venue for throwing too many cups at people that have Trinity Force Network on it.
Yeah, we have cups, we have pens, and we have pins, like the pins that go on your shirt or whatever, as well.
Pins are a big thing at PAX, so
Yes,
that's actually very fun to be passing around.
I think we're just going to walk around and try to get mobbed by people that want pins from us. And hey, you know what? If you find us at PAX East and you're not already a Patreon subscriber, I'll give you a month of Patreon for free for finding me at PAX East.
Oh, God. Wait, if I find you, I get $10?
No, a month of the Patreon, a $10 worth of Patreon. I'll give you the Champions League podcast for a month for finding me.
I already have that. So can I just get $10 if I find you?
You're getting a house to stay in for the weekend. That cost me an arm.
Yeah, it's apparently a trash can based on what we've been talking about this whole week.
What if they throw?
It's going to be a very nice trash can.
When people supposed to throw stuff at you, Mitch? What if they throw stuff at you? Do they get a free month of Patreon?
The Smirnoff Ice, then that's worth more than.
If somebody comes to PAX and does give Mitch a Smirnoff Ice, I'll give you a free replay review.
If they can get it into the venue, I'd be.
I'd be okay with it outside the venue too. I'm not changing Pone's rules, but
that's fine.
If I have to do.
Anywhere.
We're
If
gonna
you
risk
can
getting their-
find us and you can get Mitch a ice at
Smirnoff.
PAX East anywhere, I will give you a 1 month of replay review for free.
I feel like we're gonna go live for this podcast with Guido, and everyone's just gonna like reach behind them.
Please.
I'll be like, "Oh, son of a bitch!" I'm gonna be just hammered for this entire
If
podcast.
you have to drink 10 Smirnoff ices by the time it takes us to finish that podcast, I would be giddy.
Yeah, so would I. Just because of sugar.
Yeah, sugar high and drunk.
Drunk. All right, let's talk about patch 6.8, guys. Thank you so much for supporting us. With all that said, I know we didn't have the booth and everything, but we actually had all the stuff put together for the booth. Like we've got banners made by Skyen, we got a ton of stuff. So we're looking into conventions that we're gonna make sure we're at. We're looking at Dragon Con, we're looking at PAX Prime, we're looking at we won't have a booth at Comic Con, but we'll try to get some people out there at least. We're looking at BlizzCon 2 in November to get people out there. Yeah, I'm looking all of them.
San Diego?
Yes, likely
Oh.
San Diego. Yes.
I would do that.
Oh, awesome.
I'll be sending people out to Comic Con in San Diego to get interviews and whatnot that weekend and take pictures.
I'm looking up dates right now. No.
I've already got one person confirmed because they had a flight and they had to cancel it. So I told them they get first dibs on it. But one person, you need at least 2 or 3.
2 more. That's like 2 months away. 3 months away.
I know we got to start doing this stuff. But we learned a lot. We're moving forward, guys. Thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon. If you're looking for the Champions Select podcast, those are coming out. PAX has been eating a lot of our time, but we promise we'll get you those Champions Select podcasts for the month of April. All right, let's talk about patch 6.8 because this is a relatively small patch compared to like 6.5 and 6.6, but it's still a pretty important patch, as you have noticed. Like if you go to Champion GG and look up win rates right now, Ekko is at a solid 57% win rate. So it's
Ekko's killing it.
Yeah, he's pretty obvious he's going to eat some kind of nerf this patch. And that's what we're going to talk about first and foremost. So, Ekko, they have changed his W and his E. So, W and E base damage down, but AP scaling has been increased. And that's really the long and the short of it with this whole thing. They're just trying to make people move toward more of the AP style of Ekko rather than the high base damage that he is now. So W, parallel convergence, passive on hit damage was 5% of the target's maximum or missing health, 3%, and it's gone to 3% of the target's missing health. So 5 to 3. Passive on hit ratio 1% per 50 ability power. It is now 1% per 33 ability power. So you get a little bit more scaling there. And there's a new passive on it. Now deals a minimum of 15 damage to minions and monsters. Helping you last hit a little bit more.
There you go,
early.
Telly. Now you don't have to cry any tears for Tank Ekko. I know you're always sorry, Jungle Ekko. I know
Yeah,
you're
Jungle
always
Ekko.
worried about the jungler champions.
Well,
Last
for
one was
minions and
Rammus.
monsters, but yeah.
Well, it helps a lot. It'll help
I-
out his early clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess so.
E,
I don't
face
really play
dive.
a lot of jungle market.
Base damage was 50 to 170. It is now 40 to 180. The ratio has been changed from 0.2
140.
to 0.4.
Yeah,
Did I
it's
say
still
go-
It's
140.
140.
50
Not
to
180.
170, 40 to 140. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
That would have been a really weird buff to have. It's like we're trying to
Right.
nerf the base damages, but it just spikes up at level 5 for some reason.
Yeah,
base
basically that's the name of the game. They just nerfed all the base damages and up the ratios. They still say they're okay with Tank Ekko being strong in certain situations, but not being the go-to. And
He shouldn't be able to do as much
But
damage as he's doing if he builds
It's the
tank.
be-all, end-all right now. It's ridiculous. He has a lot built into his kit. He gets really tanky, and then if you do get the upper hand, he can just reset. So, like that inherently kind of isn't fun to play against if you can't kill him during that in-between.
There shouldn't be a 2.5% difference between number 1 and number 2 in top lane win percent.
Pretty
That's
much.
a ton.
I'm actually okay. So these changes definitely make it so you want him. You likely or they want you to take Ekko and move him back into mid and jungle with these changes and building AP rather than obviously building tank. Or as often they want to see more of this difference in play style. But I'm scared of these tank Ekko changes without a Gragas change as well, because these changes to tank Ekko means that it just leaves this big fat hole that Gragas can fit right through and start dominating top lane with. Because if you didn't know, he's got percentage of life damage on his W, and he's like the counter to tank Ekko right now, and he does a lot to a lot of the other bruisers that are up there, and has a lot of sustain built in his kit as well.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to take his place. I mean, he still gets hurt a little bit because of the Frozen Fish change. Iceborne Gauntlet change that's coming up because he's still building that.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, he's got the same thing that Ekko had last patch. He
There-
still has the high
there's a
base
lot.
damages, and he's really hard to kill.
There's a lot of champs that are going to get hit by the Iceborne Gauntlet change. So
Yeah, so it's not
like-
it's not like since Gragas is getting hit along with everyone else, Gragas is still going to be really good.
Told you, big fat hole. He's just gonna squeeze right in through it. He's not even gonna squeeze. It's gonna be the Kool-Aid man.
he's going to
like,
walk
I'm
right
here!
in the door.
Exactly.
Changes. Galio on this patch also got changed. E costs less and gives more movement speed. So Righteous Gust, the cost was 70 to 90 mana. It is now 60 to 80 mana. But the movement speed has changed from 20 to 52% to 30 to 50%. So trying to give Galio.
So you get a lot early, like the early levels, which I have not played Galio much, but I'm assuming that E was not an early max. I feel like Q probably was for damage, so that you're getting a lot out of that first point. You're getting 10% more move speed, which is real nice when you think about like 20% move speed is good, but 30% is like significantly better when you're talking early game. That's a good like 90 move speed, I'd guess, based on if you're just basing it on 300 base move speed, which is still low for what base move speeds actually are. It's probably closer to 100 when you actually do the math on it. But yeah, I think that's. I wonder if that's going to be like for him roaming from mid. Like I don't know what.
It definitely helps in that regard. I mean, movement speed. Everyone can attest to how useful that can be, but it does this. I mean, this is going to bring Ekko or Galio back.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'd almost say the mana would help a little bit more because he's kind of infamous for going I mean, even when he was seen back in the day, he was kind of infamous like needing the blue buff immediately, needing the chalice immediately, and whatnot, just because he's very, very mana hungry. I mean,
It's
These
really
are-
nice quality of life since it's 1-point wonder and it's 10%. I mean, it's a huge buff for a 1-point wonder, assuming this is 1-point wonder.
It's a buff to his utility and mana cost. I'm surprised that it wasn't like a buff to like some base damage to help him like maybe clear a little bit early on. So I don't know. Maybe it's a buff to support Galio.
He doesn't really have a problem clearing and all that. Wow.
Well,
Dyrus,
their description.
In the last week, there's 1, 2, 3, 9, 10 losses in a row as Galio.
Well, you could argue that his problem is that he's too binary, right? He just needs to get in. Is 10% movement speed going to help him get in? He's still going to need a flashed alt to get a good alt off, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know what I'm trying to compare him to in my mind, but I feel like it's looking at the consistent damage side of things, where they're making E really good at level 1 in comparison to where it was, like a good bit better at level 1, and then maybe saying, hey, go QW, like make yourself take a lot less damage from or I guess heal up a lot more when you're using W. You're able to pump out more damage with Q. The cooldown does go down when you scale E, but it's not that much. Q's doesn't. I don't believe W's does either. But I think it's just saying it makes him more viable in the consistent damage while staying alive kind of meta. And giving him more speed keeps him on top of people a little bit more. For somebody who needs to be on top of people for his ult to go off anyways, I think that really helps. Yeah, actually thinking about that, the level 1 E helps you get in way easier for that first ult that you need.
He's got a pretty decent win rate, 52% in the mid, but he's played less than 1% of the time.
Yeah, I mean you only play him when you're against like a triple AP team.
And if you know what you're doing when you're playing him, because you're probably not seeing people that aren't comfortable playing Galio do it with that low of a play rate anyway.
Maybe some next level flanking maneuvers.
I'm just gonna wait
The
for the
50 to 125 win rate is 67%, which is, I mean, again, it's a 0.7% play rate, but that's just such a it goes like a weird like.
So there's like
sinusoidal
5 people that satisfy that.
Yeah.
It just crushed when they played, win 2/3 their games.
Yeah, but how many?
the rest,
Yeah, that sample size must be pretty low though.
Oh, that sample size is very tiny.
All right, let's talk about the next champion. Graves has had some changes. That basic attacks deal less damage, but crits are more valuable. So, passive, new Destiny, ratio on first hit was 0.75 to 1.1 total attack damage. It is now 0.7 to 1 total attack damage. So 0.05 early up to scale up to 1. So they brought his damage down a little bit. Bullets on crit were 8, but are now 6. And the big change here is critical thinking. Each crit bullet deals 140% damage. Infinity Edge brings us to 160.
Because they were doing 100%, right? They were just doing straight AD, but or straight whatever the ratio was, but they had more bullets on crits. Mm-hmm. And now they still have more bullets on crits, just not as many, but those bullets do more damage.
I don't think so. You brought up earlier that we might see more offensive Graves builds. I don't think Graves has the luxury to start building more crit off of this. I think he kind of has to build that somewhat tanky build he's doing now with Maul of Memorius, Death's Dance, Steric's Gauge. He is getting Phantom Dancer, though. So he does get a little bit of love from that. But, I mean, without that defense, if you're going straight offense with Graves, you're sitting on the line between you're too far away to do damage or you're overextended. At least that's how I felt when I played full offense Graves. It's like, all right, I'm getting there. Use quick draw to get in, and all of a sudden you're too close to the front line and you got to get the fuck out of there.
One of the things I talked about earlier is Dom. I talk to him every single day about League, right? And one of the things he's famous for saying is that Lee Sin basically says Lee Sin is a good jungler, but you have to work twice as hard to make him as good as everybody else. Just to be as good with Lee Sin as all the other junglers out there right now, you have to work twice as hard. And he's not wrong, because Lee Sin doesn't inherently do. I mean, he's got some early game power spikes, but once you start moving in that mid and late game, if you're not already ahead or under 30 ping and really good with Lee Sin, you're not doing those. You can't do as easy of flashy plays as you can with other champions. And I kind of feel like Graves as an ADC kind of fits that as well, where you have to work twice as hard as an ADC to get the job done as a traditional ADC because of how close you have to be and how the minions interact with his bullets. Like a traditional ADC can poke, and Graves can't do that well. And he does that well in the top lane because he has he can move more freely without the enemy support picking him off at any point in time.
But when you say traditional ADC, are you referring to his build path?
No, just traditional, the way a traditional ADC plays, without having the minions interfere with your bullets, so it's a lot harder for you.
That's why I don't want to get too in depth with this, because this, like you said earlier, this is Graves is my frozen mallet. I don't think Graves can actually be classified as a marksman. For a while, I thought of him more as a caster, but I think Cargan had it right earlier when he called him a skirmisher, because he fits in a lot of auto attacks. But I don't think Graves is meant to be played like that traditional ADC anymore. I think if you're going to play him in bot lane, he can have success in certain roles, probably kill lanes now. That's probably what he's stuck to, because they're nerfing a lot of sustain. But I think he needs to build tanky. I think he needs to build tanky, and he needs to be on the front lines. Otherwise, you're just not doing anything with Graves. You can't sit back and do damage with him with the full DPS.
Right.
Because then you're only attacking the person that's diving you, which is most of the time the tank. And Graves isn't made to kill tanks.
I think the way you look at the difference between, you got Jhin and Graves. Those are probably the best comparisons between champions and the bottom lane, because they both work off an ammo system. And Graves gets, 3 to 4 shots off, depending on attack speed and how quickly he can reload those shots. Because you can go 1 dash 2 3 and reload real fast 4 5, right? You get more attack speed later. You get the Phantom Dancer, you're reloading rather quickly. And Jhin has the ability to do damage while standing in the back line, even if he's not using his auto attacks, through his ultimate, through his W, through his E's, through his Q's. Those bounce around. He's able to do damage. Like you said, Graves isn't afforded that luxury of being able to stand in the back and wait or try to pick off or do something. So that's kind of why I wonder, why am I playing Graves in the bottom lane when I can just as easily throw him in jungle or mid, even with these changes? And give a traditional marksman. I know, but the argument right now is with these changes, Graves can now build crit, which traditional ADCs are building to do more damage. So,
I just mean, you're not playing a marksman. That's his least played role. He's played mostly in the jungle and top, and then he's 52% jungle, 34% top, and then 11% AD carry.
And part of that too is when he's jungling, when he's top, if he's mid, if you put him in a position where he can roam and he can sit in a spot, or he can move through an area where you just happen to bump into him and you're close to him, he can put out more damage than you know what to do with before you really have that much time to react. And when there's 2 people in bot lane, that's 2 people that are going to be able to see that coming way more often than they would in any of the other positions. Because like if you're Graves and you're roaming top and you run into the enemy jungler midway through and you've been doing pretty well in lane, like you'll probably kill him if they're close enough to you. It's the same if you were top roaming somewhere else, or even if you were jungle roaming around as well. Like you put out a lot of damage, but it's that shock factor of getting that damage out so quickly. Those positions are just fit way better with where he's at the moment.
Yeah, he's almost like a long range melee.
That's right.
AD caster
Yeah.
than anything else. I mean, they're trying to do the same thing where like they're nerfing the tank build like they did with Ekko to a lesser extent because all of his items were like hybrid AD plus tankiness. But at the same time, like Riot, you made him really, really, really short range. Like you had to expect that he was going to be having to not
Build
itemize
tank,
glass
not
cannon.
die. Yeah.
What other AD carries can get away with that short of range with glass cannon? Maybe Vayne, and she has
Urgot.
Yeah, I was thinking
subtle
Vayne.
visibility.
Urgot.
I think Vayne is
move
actually
speed.
decent
Well,
comparison,
and
but
Urgot
she's-
Urgot's
has-
got built-in tankiness. Like,
Yeah,
but
he's got the
Urgot builds
built-in
tank
ult.
too.
Well,
Anyway.
so does
So does
Graves.
Graves. Graves true
No,
Graves
yeah.
does.
But
His dash.
Urgot also builds tanky. Anyway.
No, you just build all damage. No,
I think it's worth trying to take him down there or building different, but I don't like the
think you-
Infinity
I
Edge
don't-
is what you got to stick with.
Why don't
I
you
don't
just
think
do
you
Phantom
really
Dancer
change-
earlier? Phantom Dancer
Yeah, I
a
don't
little bit
think you
earlier.
really-
It's already being built.
Yeah, I don't really think you change your build. You're already building Phantom Dancer, which gave crit anyway because of the damage reduction with whoever you're dueling. Like you said, you're only dueling the person that's next to you and that huge damage reduction on it.
Yeah, I think maybe you would take out Asterix and throw in a Phantom Dancer. And then Phantom Dancer would be like your fourth item. That's where I see you'd fit it in.
Is he they're going like Death's Dance first though.
Oh, I'm sorry, not
aren't they?
Phantom Dancer. I was saying Infinity Edge. I'm sorry. Yeah, Phantom Dancer early, and then
Yeah.
Infinity Edge over Asterix.
So one thing I'm curious about is obviously that's going to narrow the cone on the crits because you're going from 8 to 6 shots. And one thing I think happens, but I haven't played Graves very much since the rework. When you auto turrets, can you crit? I would assume that you could because it's not like it's kind of not based on who you're attacking as much as it is you just attack as Graves. Like you can hit stuff in the way instead.
can't
It
crit
depends
a
on your
turret, though.
positioning.
No, I okay. Everyone else in the game can't crit a turret. I feel like he might be able to. I don't
Just because it's based on the pellets.
just
And
because
the
it's based
pellets
on
can
number
hit.
of pellets. Because it's not that you auto like because otherwise you could just auto something and maybe you crit a target right behind the turret, but instead it just hits the turret instead. Like I don't know how that interaction works. But either way, you'd be getting a good bit of extra damage here because it's now easier to get all those bullets onto a. Assuming this is correct. It'd be easier to get all 6 onto a turret. You could push faster, and that would be it'd be more damage overall. It comes out to more damage with 140% via 6 bullets versus 8 via 100.
I
I'm
don't
not sure what
think
that impact
I don't
would
think
be.
it will do the extra damage even if that pellet was to crit because like headshot and anybody
know
else
those
can't
don't-
crit on them. I know, but you can't use those passives on a turret. Like structures will intercept the pellets and you can do extra damage to a turret with those pellets, but critting doesn't do extra damage to the turret because you're not.
I know,
You
but it-
can't.
but it makes more-
I understand you
get
crit
more
it. You crit a minion and the bullet hits the turret because it's a crit bullet. I understand what you're saying, but it's not going to do extra crit damage to the turret.
Yeah.
But
Well,
if
it
it's
depends
6
what
bullets
direction they
versus
took it.
4,
'cause
That's what I
it's-
mean.
yeah.
That's what I mean. Not necessarily the damage on them, but the 6 versus 4.
You can hit it with 6 pellets and it will do 6
Okay.
times the damage.
Yeah.
Because units that take structures will intercept pellets, as will any other target, and can take damage from multiple pellets. So
But now they can only take damage from 6 instead of 8. So it
Right.
probably would reduce his turret killing ability very, very slightly.
it would. Yeah, because you can't. crit turrets.
Assuming that Mitch's argument is
Incorrect, which
correct.
I could see it being either one, honestly.
I could, but I would think that it couldn't. But it really depends how they coded it because it's not like anything else in the game that's really comparable to.
If it goes in as you're able to, somebody's gonna build Infinity Edge and just like auto push top lane and just fucking crush turrets.
Split push Graves.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about
Infinity Edge
Kog'Maw.
is easy rot.
We've spent quite a bit of time on Graves here. We got a little bit more to cover. Kog'Maw, they have changed his Q. Q shred up early, W damage down. So Q caustic spittle. Armor MR shred was 12 to 28%. Is now 20 to 28%. So higher percent if you hit it. W bio arcane barrage base on hit damage was 10 to 30. It is now 4 to 20.
Yeah, Kog'Maw was still good. After that last change, or they pushed back his spike a bit. I was in the change in the right direction. One thing I failed to account for is that W is still doubling your attack speed when you activate it. So you're getting that plus the high flat damage that they added onto it, which is 10 to 30. So he was still hitting a power spike as soon as he finished Ginso's. It was just a little bit later.
I think they're just hitting all the wrong points on Kog'Maw. They just need to look at Ginsu's rather than Kog'Maw's damage.
That's
Yes.
a theme for the next champion.
everyone
too, in my opinion.
That goes for a bunch of champions though. That goes to any person that wants to auto attack you that much with hybrid damage.
You know,
Hello,
Ryan,
NALCS finals.
well, yeah, Tristana running the Ragebait Hurricane, right? Well, this change hurts Kog'Maw and pushes back his power spike quite a bit. I mean, you're losing 6 damage at level 1 per auto attack for just the base damage.
You're losing more per level. It goes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like that, you're losing per level. That's a lot.
Well, if you hit your Q,
but no
early
one.
game,
That's the thing. No one puts points in Q because it's not worth.
you don't put any points in it.
It's not
No,
worth
but
a
you-
point into it.
Oh,
Because you max W, right? And then you put the extra points in E because Kog'Maw is more about the slow and the kiting than it is trying to hit one person with a Q. So if you
I
can
think they're
slow
getting-
multiple team.
I think they're giving the idea that 1 point into is good though, because 12 to 20%, like
They're
that's
trying.
a good bit more shred. Like
Sure.
they're saying, like do that and you'll make up the damage. That
Oh,
we're
okay.
taking
So they're
away from
forcing
you.
you. Yeah, they're forcing you to take 1 point.
I don't
into
think
Q.
they're forcing you to. I mean, you have to hit it and you have to
If
use
you
the
want to
mana
get
do
that
it.
damage back, though.
Yeah, it's
if you
tempting.
do, they're making you take it, and if you hit it, you'll be doing the same damage as you did before.
I think it's too. I don't know.
Maybe.
It's-
I mean,
it's-
they're
I-
obviously
I-
retooling the kit because you shouldn't have a character where you don't level in a regular base ability to level 16 or whatever it is, or 17.
But that's the like you could make that same argument with Jace forever. Like it was pretty standard for like 8 months to go QE and not put any points into W until 9 maybe, where you'd put 1 point in until later in the game. So like I mean, you can't really use that as the reasoning behind it. You could say, okay, we want every champion to get at least 1 point in all of their abilities by X level, but with 100 and whatever champs that there are in the game right now, it's just not likely to happen.
I think the point is that the ability was just too weak, and it just doesn't
I'd
feel.
agree with
doesn't
that.
feel worthwhile to use. I mean, I'm definitely for buffing an ability if you look at it and you say, why bother?
Yeah, you're
Already
not leveling
have-
until 13. I mean, that's at least a starting point to say, hey, maybe we should take a look at this. Obviously, there's troll builds that have been throughout League of Legends that you wouldn't leveled something till 13, like old AP Scion, Jace, I guess, would do that.
Also, like Pantheon would
Singe
put
sometimes
extra
doesn't
points in his
level
ultimate.
his. Yeah. Singe sometimes doesn't level his W to level 9, or whatnot. But I think that level 13 on an E carry, that's kind of the only one I could think of. You don't put a single point into it. I think regardless, it's going to make you take it early if you want to be able to do the same levels of early to mid game damage.
You should at least be given the choice. Like you have to think about it. Like, do I need this Q, or do I take Q instead of a 3rd point E? Maybe I max W, take 2 points in E early, and then just hold off on the Q for a while until people start building more armor and magic resist.
Yeah. So separate the good Kog'Maws from the great ones.
Definitely.
If you could land the Q.
All right, let's talk about Master Yi. Our cooldown up and duration down, but it resets duration has been increased. So Highlander, cooldown was 75, it is now 85 seconds. Duration was 10 seconds, it is down to 7, but the extension has been increased by 3 seconds to 7 from 4. So I continue.
That was a lot of numbers.
Yeah.
Riot's going to continue to nerf him over and over again.
Trying
Good.
to nerf
Until
Highlander,
they
so it's not up
realize-
as often.
Yeah. And then they were going to realize that the real problem was Rageblade all along. They're going to nerf that, and then they're going to leave Yi in a shithole.
Raidblade and Devour.
Just like they're doing with...
Yes,
Just like
delete
they're doing,
Devour.
they're going to do that with Kale, because they're going to nerf her again, and they're doing it to Kog'Maw, and then they're going to rework Rageblade for the 17th time.
I mean, they've already
And
said
then all the-
in the Mage update that they were going to look at Ginsu because they know it's a problem. But if you know it's a problem, why aren't you looking at it earlier? There just got to be something else that we're missing. We're not Riot, so...
I just think that they just reworked the item, and they really badly want it to work.
It works.
Yeah,
it works
it
great.
was a useless item
Yeah.
for a long time. It was
Has
such a niche item that like one champion bought it through like maybe 3 seasons. I might even venture to say 4.
It goes from being useless to being amazing within the span of a season.
I'm sorry, Akali built it in like season 1, if I remember, because it had hybrid. Yeah, Bruiser did. I actually kind of like how they tweaked the numbers on this though, because it's saying if you get a kill or an assist during your Highlander, you have the same duration as if you had 1 kill or an assist before. But it rewards you for getting 2. Mm-hmm. Like, if you get 2 or more, you're getting 3 extra seconds of Highlander more than you did before this change. It is a nerf overall, especially with the 10 seconds on the cooldown overall. But it's saying you need to do more to get something out of this. Which it seems to kind of be the theme of this patch, is like you have to do more than just like
roll your
right click and
you gotta earn
right
it.
clicking. Yeah, exactly.
Right click, press Q, acquire
right.
stacks.
So Misfortune changes nerf buff, like weird here. I don't understand the Misfortune changes that are coming in this patch, excuse me. So they've changed Strut. What they've done to it is the duration and cooldown has been increased, but Love Tap no longer extends W's duration. Instead, it reduces its cooldown. So, W Strut, attack speed duration was 3 seconds. It is now 4 seconds. Cooldown has gone up to 12 seconds from 8. Okay, Tap Dancing. Applying Love Tap no longer extends the duration. So they completely remove
the passive.
That. Right. Strut your stuff. Cooldown now begins on cast instead of when the buff expires. So that's a buff. Go up. Guns Blazing. While Strut is on cooldown, applying Love Tap reduces its remaining cooldown by 2 seconds, and that scales down with cooldown reduction. And Tally, you had some notes put together about Misfortune in this.
Yeah, I did. The Strut now is more uptime and it lasts longer. The cooldown nerf was actually a buff because of you actually gain a second on it. Because it was duration was 3 seconds, but the cooldown was 8. Now the duration is 4 seconds and the cooldown is 12, but the cooldown begins on cast. So you actually gain a second back. Plus, it looks like you could reduce the cooldown even further by this new passive that they added. So this is an overall across the board buff to it.
The cooldown is still the same, essentially, because it's starting 8 seconds. It was 8 seconds after your 3 second duration, or now it's 8 seconds after your 4 second duration. The cooldown is still the same, but now it's the way you can't prolong how long that's up. You just can get the cooldown back faster.
So it gets kind of like a pseudo Draven W.
Right.
Yeah, kind of. It's weird because you could it rewarded you like in the middle of like when you had that attack speed buff previously, you could try to just like change targets a shit ton of times, and if you kept hitting champions especially, it would keep that duration up for indefinitely. Actually, you could keep it up forever if you wanted to, and people didn't die. But now it's just saying you get that burst another second, but now once you're off of it, you aren't having to go like so crazy with your changing targets, which I guess is kind of I don't know. Nerf buff is a really good term for this because I have no idea which it is. Overall.
I also thought about Draven's W, and one of the concerns I had with it is I run out of mana a lot if I'm resetting W over and over again. But I think Draven's W is 40 or 45 mana, and Misfortune's Strut is 30. So she's a little better off in that regard. I think she's probably still going to run out of mana in extended trades early and mid, but then maybe this will help out a lot more later.
It's an interesting way to make a champion continue to stay in the fight by moving more quickly, by giving them their movement speed back, by having to use the passive rather having to use the active rather than it passively staying up. So you have to
it's kind of like Teemo, right?
Teemo's cooldown doesn't go down with W though, does it?
I meant just. No. I'm sorry. I meant just the using it to get max move speed.
Right.
Portion.
Poppy used to have something similar.
She still kind of does.
Yeah.
All right. So Olaf,
even more
near and dear to Jaden's heart. Olaf has had some changes. W lifesteal and R's armor and magic resist have been increased. So Vicious Strike's lifesteal was 9 to 21%. It is now 14 to 22%.
Which is really nice. Especially
Ragnarok,
early.
passive MR and armor was 10 to 30. It is now 20 to 40. Didn't they hit this way back in like patch 2 or 3? It was like 3 or 4 or whatever.
They hit this, but it's a thing where like you have the passive armor and MR until you use your ultimate, and then as soon as you use your ultimate, all of those stats go away.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You because like they're like, oh, you're a berserker, you shouldn't have any of those extra tanky stats. But it was, I don't know, this champion, again, near and dear to my heart. I love Olaf so much. He went from me feeling like, wow, at the end of last year, he was really, really strong. I was having a great time on him. And then they put some itemization changes in, and the new season rolled around, and I'm like, holy shit, I can't win a game with Olaf to save my life. And then his win rate also plummeted. But his win rate hasn't really been that great for a really long time. But he's just not tanky. If you build tanky, you don't do any damage. And if you build damage, you die before you even reach the people in the back line that you would be able to reach with your ultimate anyway. So I don't think he's been in a good spot. I'm glad to see I'm glad to see buffs. But I mean, the passive armor change is great until you ult. You know, that's great until you all in. The lifesteal though, being able to activate and get 5% extra lifesteal for 1 point is really, really nice. I mean, that you were already putting 1 point in that for a while anyway, so you get a bigger chunk for that 1 point you're putting in.
I gotta imagine with all these tank changes we've been seeing, and we're about to talk about Rumble too, is a lot of these champions are just on the edge of the floodgate or pushing at the door of the floodgate, just waiting to bust through.
Mm-hmm.
I was always wondering why it was lifesteal and not like lifesteal and spell vamp, or a combo of somehow like getting Q and
it used
E
to be both.
Yeah,
Okay.
didn't it?
They changed it. Yeah, it originally, before they did some of the changes with Olaf, before they even added the extra armor and MR onto his kit, it used to give spell vamp and lifesteal.
Yeah, I thought I remembered
now that I remember.
pressing smite after you.
That's exactly it.
popped
You used to be able to, just like Lee Sin used to be able to pop smite, and
Which you can't do anymore anyway.
You actually used to get health back for landing Qs too, which was amazing.
Well, you still kind of can, because there's spell vamp in the offensive tree.
Right.
Yeah, but you can't spell vamp off spite anymore.
Can you not?
Yeah, they removed it a couple patches ago because people were getting a bunch of health back from like the chilling smite
Yeah,
and shit.
there's no reason to get it back anymore when you have red that gives you all that extra life.
Yeah.
All right,
They
so
killed
Rumble.
my jungle morgue.
Shut up about your goddamn jungle. Rumble, Q deals full damage to minions. R cooldown has been lowered. All right, here comes Rumble. Rumble in the jungle now has a recommended item page for Jungle Rumble. Flame Spitter, damage to minions went from 50% to 100%. R, the equalizer, cooldown 120 to 100 is now 110 to 90.
Stop buffing Rumble.
Yeah, holy shit,
Nobody
you
likes
can
Rumble.
actually easily clear waves. Like, you're going to be able to clear waves way earlier with Rumble rather than needing, like, an item or two before you can actually pump Q damage into minions. That's awesome for him. It's terrible for anybody.
And they just buffed the tick rate too, like two or three patches ago. This is minions are not monsters, so although they made a jungle rumble page, it doesn't
benefit
affect him at all, except for the ult cooldown. But this has definitely helped top lane rumble a shit ton. I mean, that's double damage on minions.
Yes and no, because now you're not going to be able to just pop Q to harass whenever you want to, because you're going to be pushing the wave. So like, you're going to have to make a choice when you hit Q, rather than just be like, oh hey, this barely does any damage to my minions, and they just did some AoE stuff, but even though I'm gonna just stand on the other side of my minions and completely keep you from CSing if you can't all in me, I'm just gonna do that. So it's hard for me to CS, but now it's hard for you to CS because I'm standing here. And now you're not going to be able to do that as well. You're going to have to make choices when you go to do it.
I mean, a lot of good rumbles anyway, they turn their body around so that they wouldn't auto push the wave. They would get a little harassing, but yeah.
It's going to be easier to auto push.
You'll push faster, which is both a blessing and a curse, but at the same time, I would say it is a buff.
Well, there's also the one thing that he doesn't benefit from, which they mentioned in the notes, which we're also about to talk about, are the two like mainstays of top lane this season, and it's Grasp of the Undying and Corrupting Potion. Right. And he doesn't really benefit from either. I mean, I guess you could kind of use Corrupting and say, I'm going to burn you a little bit, but you waste all that mana, and that doesn't really help.
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking of Corrupting Potion, that has been changed in this patch as well. Health regeneration, 150 per charge is now down to 125, but the mana has been increased to 75 mana per charge from 50. So a little less life, a little bit more mana, just a little bit less time in lane. They did the same thing. They changed Feast as well, so that the cooldown is now 30 seconds rather than 25, because there's They want a little less sustain and a little more going back to base or having to make decisions. I'm curious. Grasp of the Undying as well has been changed. It was 3%, is now 2.5% on this patch. So lots of little sustain pieces coming out. That's why I say, with all these changes that are hitting here, I could see these carry champions like Olaf and Rumble
Coming
and
back.
Fiora and all these little shit. They're knocking at the floodgate right now.
What, see more top lane Tryndamere? You can bring back your top lane Yi, even though they just nerfed him a bit.
Nah, it's probably
As
not
long
as
as,
good.
as long
Top
as
turn.
Rage Blade's there, you're good, right?
Right.
Would you be going? I know we talked Trinity a while ago when Warlord's Bloodlust got changed, but any merit to possibly going Storm Raiders, since that's starting to see a little bit more interesting stuff for a sticky champion like Olaf?
I don't think he gets as much out of it. I think he's better off.
I don't
with
think
Warlords.
you would. But I just a thought.
I
Of
think
seeing
the
that
Warlords does more for him when he's weak than what Storm Raiders does for him later when he can do the 30% with a crit.
I'm just thinking of like the rises of the world that are pumping out consistent damage and need to be on top of somebody. I think it's at least a conversation to have if Olaf comes back, which they're trying to make that happen, which is always a scary proposition because that sometimes just shits on people for a while.
It comes down to the thing where like nobody likes playing an ADC or a mid when he's strong because he just ignores the rest of the enemy team and goes and does what he wants. But see, even with Warlords, even with some of the other things in the offensive tree, like I still really like Strength of Ages on him too, especially if I want to get that early damage item. You get free health for it, so it depends on how you want to play him.
Mm-hmm.
So they also changed Iceborne Gauntlet and Mercurial Scimitar. Iceborne Gauntlet is now 100% of the base attack damage rather than 125%, because we were saying that's kind of like the bar at this point is the Iceborne Gauntlet, and they're trying to bring that back. So again, another tank nerf. Mercurial Scimitar has been the staple go-to item in the LCS, and they removed all the free attack speed on that last patch, and now they're hitting it again. With the total cost is down 100 gold to 3,600. The combined cost is down 100 gold because of that, and the attack damage has been decreased to 65.
Wasn't the attack speed on Malpa Mortius?
Oh, sorry. I was thinking, yes, Malpa Mortius. I apologize.
Just making sure I wasn't going crazy. I'm like, Scimitar had attack speed?
No,
I was
thinking
about to say, oh god, I better pretend I knew that the whole time.
You know,
we go play this patch real quick before it changes.
No, even with these changes, the Scimitar, I don't think it
Oh,
matters.
it's so good. It's
Because
so good.
QSS is just too good. That's the thing.
Yeah. And the fact that you put lifesteal on it, I mean, finding lifesteal can be pretty difficult, but when you've got it built into the QSS, this item is almost a no-brainer.
Active, yeah. It's the best active in the game for an AD carry, plus it was already super stat efficient and super duper slot efficient, and I think it was good that they hit it.
Yeah.
You might be able to get it a little bit earlier, but I mean, when you rush the QSS part and usually upgraded this last, right?
I think it depends on the game. Sometimes if I have the money, I'll just pop right into Mercurial Scimitar if I already have a QSS. I've been finding myself, I played a fuck ton of Jhin. All right, this is why I can say this. I've been playing a fuckload of Jhin. And I buy QSS. I'm playing the game, and I pretty much say to every time I'm playing anybody, I'm like, I got to buy a QSS now, don't I? I got to buy QSS, and it's always third item. So at that point, I'm like, all right, well, we've gone back after a big team fight. If I don't need Last Whisper, I'll just upgrade it into Mercurial just for the extra AD and lifesteal.
75 AD. It was more than Infinity Edge. Yeah, I mean, they definitely needed to tone this down.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to avoid buying it.
Yeah, they just want to make a little bit more of a choice between maybe something that gives you a little bit more damage in this late game.
It
I
doesn't
mean, I think
matter.
really good players are still getting this.
They would have to nerf the cost of QSS to make this item worse. They would have to make QSS cost more,
Correct.
like 1,000 gold.
Yeah, there's
or
no
1,000
replacement for
gold.
the QSS. The only decision you might have to make is, like, if you really didn't need the QSS and you're only using it for slows, and maybe instead you buy a Bloodthirster. Because you're weighing the two lifesteal options. But if you ever have a stun that you want to get rid of, this is the only option you have.
Yeah. Or a second in Infinity Edge.
So you can just do more damage. Who needs to get stunned when they're dead?
Well,
win harder, right?
So slot efficient that you were making a choice. Now they're just trying to make it a little bit more of a choice. I still think that this is what you're going, but I mean, now it might be between this and more damage, whereas before this was more damage and the better item overall. So
Let's talk about Secret Stash real quick. The instant biscuit health was 20, is now 15. The instant mana was 10, is now 15. So again, hitting some of that sustain.
Yeah, same concept as what they did with the corrupting potion.
But at this point, so the other two that you have is either you do more damage when no one is near you, or oh shit, what's the other one to the left of it?
don't
Runic
know.
Affinity.
Yeah, Runic Affinity. Thank you.
Runic Affinity and Assassin are the other ones that are in the same tier
Right.
as.
Yeah, you
as
do
Biscuits.
2% more damage when there's no one near you, and then Runic Affinity, which is the increase of jungle buffs.
But I mean, if you're getting biscuits anyway as like a support, the extra mana might. I mean, they
I'm
took
fine
away
with
5
that.
HP. Yeah, I was about to say that's.
I
almost
am
better
totally
for some
fine with that.
champion. Cared because they needed the mana
Yeah, because you're getting you don't get mana over time with it. It's just
at the beginning.
Yeah, no, like at all. Like you don't get mana
Yeah.
except just that one little bit.
Yeah,
And
that's what I
that
said, just
50%
beginning.
extra is very nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
whereas you're losing 5 health immediately, but you're still gaining what 100 health over the.
Yeah.
150 now.
I forget.
So check this out. There's some bug fixes in here. This one's interesting. Zed no longer gains 20 extra attack damage when activating W.
Oh,
Well, that's nice. Glad to know that's not in the game anymore.
W's is Shadow, right?
Right.
yeah.
There's a passive on the shadow that gives you extra
Yeah,
attack
it's extra
damage.
AD.
Yeah.
But it was
a lot.
giving
The
more-
bird auras for enchantment, Cinderhulk, and Sunfire Cape no longer stack.
Yeah.
Karthus's W,
That
not
was a
for
bug.
Grant's vision. Fixed a bug where Karthus sometimes can't apply Rylay's Crystal Scepter. Ekko's Q on hit sound effect when returning have been restored. Chilling Smite properly dismounts Quinn when she's in R. So there you go.
Oh, interesting. All right.
Fixed a bug where Renekton's W sometimes wasn't applying the proper number of black cleaver stacks. That's a pretty decent.
That's a lot of
bug.
bugs this patch.
Rammus's Q
Where's Azir?
self knockup no longer overrides other knockback effects. So Poppy Alt, Alistar Headbutt. The Bandit Mastery no longer grants gold when enemy pets, Tibbers, or Elise die. So you can't get extra gold off of killing the pets. Urgot's Hyperkinetic Position Reverser no longer completes its swap if Urgot dies mid-channel. So that's a pretty
Oh, come
big one.
Damn it.
on.
I did know about that, and I'm sad that I wasn't trying to die right before my swap completed.
Oracle's
And using-
Extract can now properly be purchased while dead on the Howling Abyss. No one cares. Unmuting the Master Volume Slider no longer causes a custom R feast sound effect for both battle costs. Okay, hold on. I'm reading through these, make sure I got it. Increase the volume Meowkai's E.
Oh my god, why are we still even reading these? These
Hello,
are not
Meowkai.
anymore.
I'm just making sure. Oh, right here. Gravelord
wanna go
Azir
over
no
all-
longer sometimes places Azir's face voiceover lines.
There's Azir. Oh, okay.
I was,
Whew.
I,
I feel
wait,
better
oh,
now.
They
We
changed
bring you
all
the
of
important info.
They changed all of the default settings to now be quick cast with range indicators enabled by default. So all the new players, that's going to be what they grew up with, or they grew
Honestly, that's probably like that's a good thing.
up with. Yeah, probably.
Like I would say it's better to learn the hard way right at the start than it is to unlearn bad habits and then reteach yourself.
I thankfully had, like, I switched over to quick cast or smart cast, whatever you want to call it, like very early on in my league career, like season 1 or 2, something like that. But that was because I was trying to play Rise, and I was immediately told, like, if you're using
there we go. That's
dumb cast or regular casting,
You're not
don't.
gonna do it
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
I'm giving you the finger guns because no one cares about your league career tally.
Wow. I was just saying, like,
Old.
I was
Savage.
adding on to Chira's point that it's easier to learn this way than to.
Yes, I got the rage quit. I was waiting how many episodes it would take for somebody to actually get up and walk away. Tally, congratulations on your first official rage
the
quit of the
first.
Trinity Force podcast. We've all done it at least once, and now tonight is yours. So,
Were they all because you needlessly call out someone?
no,
I hope that he needlessly called out himself, and that was his own rage quit.
I rage quit. There was one I rage quit, and the episode completely ended. Like I didn't come back because DeClaude made some pun or some bullshit. I think
Yep.
Chira and Puncher.
No,
I walked
no,
away.
I remember what happened. You spilled beer on your keyboard, and
Yep.
everything went wrong last week.
No, we
And then
continued the
they put that at
podcast.
the beginning
though.
of the episode. They didn't even cut it. It just was the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, last week when Lancer put that together, and he was like, it just starts out and goes, "Oh fuck!" I'm like, "God, what the hell, Lancer? We're 2 seconds into the podcast, and I'm already like screaming the f bombs." But sponsors, if you're out there,
Got to earn that.
we're
explicit
ready. We want your money.
Say I got.
Hey, guess
They
how
got
many
called
sponsors
out.
we get with finger guns? Come on, man. Stop doing
The
that.
NRA.
company.
Act like you've been here.
Guys, that's it. That's an episode. That's patch note. That is the shortest patch note episode we've done yet. 50
Well, it's a
minutes.
short patch
Damn.
as
They're
well.
doing
Yeah.
a big rehaul next batch anyway, so
Yep.
they didn't much
Oh,
time.
Get ready for the 3-week patch note.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Can't
bad.
wait.
We're gonna have to sit down and try to figure out how to break that up into episodes.
Nah, we'll just wing it.
All right, like we always do.
Yeah. We'll have double the beer that week.
They don't have to say. They don't have to tell me that twice, guys. PAX East, please bring ice and ice Mitch. We will see you all out there in Boston, Massachusetts. Remember, this is the only podcast to get this week. We're going to try to get that second Champions Select podcast out to you on Wednesday, or well, we're going to be at PAX, so it's going to be kind of hard to put it out. But I'll try my best to get a second podcast out to you this week. If not, it'll be
This is a compilation of Champions Select podcasts, is what I understood. Not. We're just throwing. We'll see if we have one, just a new one. No, it's a compilation of them.
Maybe I
there's a
throw
new
an
one.
old one from a year
highlight
ago
reel.
up there and just let people listen to it.
All right.
Do I piss
Take
our
a vote.
patrons off
Take a
by doing
vote.
that? Maybe.
Take a quick vote of what people who aren't subscribed would like
I ain't
to
got time
listen.
for these votes. You guys will get what you get, and you fucking like it.
Wow. That's aggressive.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to episode number 353 of the Trinity Force podcast. Thank you for supporting the Trinity Force Network. Find us over at patreon.com/TForce Network. Get your replay reviews, which we're going to go do after this show. At least one of us is, this guy. And you can get your Champions League podcast with host Days Untold and Serial Box. You'll never have to hear Talanasty again after tonight because he's been fired. See you all next week.
See ya.
See ya.